Sorry, we couldn't start the show any earlier because we were talking about the show. So I'll give you guys just a second to get in that chat, but we won't prolong that too much. You want to hit that switch and I'll hit this button?
Yes.
Rock and roll. Let's do it. Good morning, everybody. Okay, couple things real quick. I see Sergeant Major's watching over on Rumble, and it just between seeing the old man watching on Rumble and popping up occasionally on Twitch, he's an exemplar. Old people can learn things. So good on you, old man. Appreciate it. Love you. Thanks for watching. I see Steve drew First Blood. Megan's with us, and I see Scrimshaw and Dan, and yes, I skipped over you there, Trish, because I want to come back to you for just a second. I got the care package. And something we've been talking about doing, I think we've been talking about it for like a year, is redoing this backdrop. Because as much as I was a big fan of the Donald, he's not the president anymore, and frankly, I don't want him to run in 2024. I'd rather see DeSantis. But I think part of the plan going forward is I'm going to try to figure out a way to incorporate some of these wonderful care package items, like the roll of toilet paper, Biden, the quicker fucker upper, and there's the
F-bomb.
And she sent me some stickers. You know, I'm tempted to put these on my pick-em-up truck, but I do have to encounter clients throughout the day, and sometimes just I've still got my 2016 Trump Pence sticker on the back of the truck because it's not worth my time to scrape it off. And also, Herman Cain personally handed me that sticker and a big hug, and so that sticker's going to go with the truck if I ever send it away.
You're going to make me all melancholy all over again. Hey, Danielle Munoz joined us. Good morning.
Danny, good morning,
Friends
sunshine.
from Polytech, and she changed her profile picture.
She did. I can't quite tell what it is in that.
Well, it's
in this configuration.
tiny.
Oh, it's puppies.
No, don't block Danny.
No, not Danny. Sorry, Danny, I almost blocked you when I was trying to swing the banhammer at baby Roata. There was a Twitch bot directly under you, and it almost confused the banhammer. So, this morning...
Banhammer's an inanimate object, okay? It's whoever wields the banhammer that's responsible for what the banhammer does.
Tell that to Mjolnir.
Yeah, okay. That's funny, but...
We should come up with a trinity of magical artifacts, like, to go with the banhammer, like how Thor also had the gauntlets of strength and the girdle of stability, without which you couldn't operate the machine. Yeah.
No, well, look, I like how you just ignored...
The girdle of body positivity.
Like, either way, I like how you ignored the gun control analogy there. And yes, Mjolnir was sentient, but you still had to wield Mjolnir.
Yes, and we can take that into the whole gun control analogy thing, too. And, we...
Terry Pratchett wrote a fantastic book called Men at Arms.
Yes.
In which there was one gun in the world, and the gun was sentient. And it was like... And as you read this book, you had to wonder, man, which side of the gun control debate is he on? This is fantastic satire.
And if you've never read Terry Pratchett, like that's a whole other conversation we need to have too. This morning, what we're talking about, because it's Woke Wednesday, we're going to talk about this AstroTurf controversy that's going on around the new Obi-Wan Kenobi show. And
hey, real quick, Dan Burke says, "Good morning, awake, not woke." Fantastic, sir.
Excellent. And Sergeant Major done hopped onto another platform to say, if you don't twitch, maybe you're a bitch. And that,
if you don't twitch,
old soldiers are scathing. Scathing. So,
Anyhow,
It's
Woke
a pity
Wednesday.
Legion's not watching this morning to suffer that particular, shall we say, verbose rectal prolapse. Is the panhammer like the lung gun? I almost spilled my coffee. So anyway, I am an old Star Wars fan. I'm not quite an old enough Star Wars fan to have been in the theater for the original release, but I did grow up on the original trilogy. I was super excited and standing in line to see the prequel trilogy, where, like most old Star Wars fans, I was disappointed when Han no longer shot first, and I was disappointed in the original trilogy. But I still enjoyed the original trilogy.
The prequel trilogy.
I'm sorry, the prequel trilogy. I was disappointed by the prequels and still, but still enjoyed them. Now, the prequels were kind of a sign of things to come, because the original trilogy was, there's a princess, there's space wizards, and we're going to go on an adventure in space. Yay! And then the prequels were...
And you have to have faith in the Force.
Right.
Boy, I really didn't... It's so on the nose, and yet so subtle. I really didn't put that together until, like, late into my teenage years. Be like, oh, so it's like God and religion and all of it. Oh, it's the Force. Got it. Okay.
Right. But
They're
then
all
the prequels,
Gandalf.
But then the prequels were all like, oh, there's an embargo with the Trade Federation, and let's talk about complex. This is a children's film, George. It's a children's film. They don't know what a Trade Federation is. Those words don't mean things to an 8-year-old boy who wants to watch space wizards fight with magic laser swords. Okay?
Plus, there were the Tridarians, beings with giant noses who were only affected by money, and I'm like, George, what are you doing, buddy? You're making me uncomfortable here.
But then Disney got their hands on it. I haven't even seen the third of the 3 Disney Star Wars movies, and I won't bother, because the first 2 were such grotesque cinematic abortions. I suffered through the first one, through the first of those 3, and I found it unoriginal, uninspired, disappointing. And then I watched the second of the 3. The second of the 3 was the Last Jedi. The Last Jedi. Watched The Last Jedi, and if Admiral Gender Studies had not been enough, then broody bitch Luke really killed it for me. And I didn't need the blue titty milk. I did not need that in a Star Wars movie.
Are you colorblind? I'm pretty sure it was green.
Was it? It wasn't milk.
Or it was milk, and that was part of what was so disturbing about it.
And we watched Luke milk a monster. I didn't need that. I didn't need that in my Star Wars. So, now, I say all that, but I'm going to come back real quick to Boba Fett. I'm sorry, not Boba Fett, to The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian series was excellent. Sort of. It may be that it was just mediocre, and we've gotten so used to garbage that it was refreshing to be given something that was merely mediocre. But the fact of the matter is, The Mandalorian gave us a space western, which, hey, look at the
Firefly.
Absolutely dedicated fan base of Firefly, calling themselves browncoats after the rebels in the series, and how heartbroken that fan base was. I didn't see Firefly for the first time until probably almost 10 years after it was canceled. And that's when I first learned that what a tragedy it was that we lost that. The space western, yes, please. So The Mandalorian gave us the space western, coupled with a story that was kind of a unique and bizarre mixture of a single daddy movie gone buddy cop, right? It was like half and half buddy cop, lone cowboy western, single dad flick, and it didn't cram the woke down you constantly. Plus, we got Mr. Kim in a TIE fighter, or not a TIE fighter, in a Y-wing, and that was just, I mean, opposite a straight killer. Oh, you're right, an X-wing. Y-wing's the kind of bomber thing. But yes.
Yeah, it's shaped like a Y.
Correct. Yes.
Hey, do you know what the A-wing is shaped like?
A suppository?
An A.
Oh!
Brother, your suppositories are shaped like A's. You're doing something way wrong.
So we've got all that, and now we've got the new Obi-Wan Kenobi series. I haven't watched it. I haven't seen a single episode. Because as much as I enjoyed The Mandalorian, then we got the book of Boba Fett, and it wasn't about Boba Fett. He was barely in it. I mean, it was ostensibly referential to Boba Fett's post trilogy story arc, but and I was even okay with the Rainbow Crew Vespas, but I mean, come on, guys! You called the show the Book of Boba Fett. I turned it on because I thought I was going to watch a story about Boba Fett. So Cameron's going to explain the Obi-Wan Kenobi kerfuffle to me, like somebody who hasn't watched it, because frankly, I haven't.
Okay, and I want to make this clear. I only watch this show for research purposes. And
In fact, so that we could do this show.
Yes, yes, because when I heard this show was coming out, like Chris, I mean, I was just kind of like, meh, whatever. I mean, that's what it was. It was meh. Maybe I'll watch it, maybe I won't. I wasn't excited. And it's really sad because you've got Ewan McGregor coming back to play Obi-Wan Kenobi. That should be incredibly exciting. And instead, not only is it not exciting, not only am I completely uninterested, but part of the reason why I didn't want to watch it is I had the thought, I'm like, look, I don't want to see any of my heroes from my childhood get any more fucked up than they already have been. I don't want any of the intellectual properties from my childhood that I really enjoyed. Like, apparently there were some brilliant movies and TV shows that came out of the late 70s through the early 90s. Because Hollywood keeps going back and milking them and ruining them. And apparently, with the exception of Top Gun Maverick, they just break them. And it's awful.
Maybe what happened is all the really good writers OD'd on cocaine during the 90s explosion.
Well, I mean, you just have the next crop of writers that come up and do coke all night and write things. Like, you wouldn't think it would be... I mean, ask Stephen King. That is a valid method for getting books out.
Apparently.
So, okay.
I mean, you don't drop that many big, thick books in your big dick bibliography without a little chemical assistance. Am I right? Am I right, Stephen? I mean, we see you on Twitter, Steve. We know what you're doing.
Well, apparently he gave all that up about 10 years ago. But look, but look. All right, this is me picking the thread back up, okay? So here I am, severely uninterested, kind of flat on it, and if anything, I'm nervous. I'm like, I'm tired of watching things from my childhood get pissed on. And then I start seeing these bizarre things about the racism and the toxic fandom of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and I'm genuinely curious. I'm like, what's going on here? So let me just give you like quick synopsis of the first 3 episodes. Spoilers, by the way. Okay. So
I used to have a spoiler alert button. I don't know what I did with it.
You need to bring the Greta button back.
Yeah.
See, and this would be the perfect morning for It's a Trap, but no, see,
It's a trap.
You need to bring those buttons back. So basically, it's set 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith, or approximately 10 years before the events of A New Hope. So it's right there in the middle. The show Obi-Wan Kenobi is not actually about Obi-Wan Kenobi. There is a character in the show who calls himself Obi-Wan Kenobi. And kind of like what they did with Luke, he's a broken little bitch who has severed himself from the Force. And the show is this big continuity error because apparently, like, Leia as a child was kidnapped by some of Vader's agents in order to draw Obi-Wan Kenobi out of hiding. And Kenobi and Vader end up having this duel that Vader wins, and Kenobi would have died if it were not for a female character saving his life. So it's not really about Kenobi. And this whole thing with Moses Ingram, she plays a character, an evil character in the show who is an Inquisitor. And the Inquisitors go around and they hunt the remaining Jedi that somehow escaped the Purge and blah, blah, blah. It's actually the most interesting part of the show. You could have just given me a Star Wars show that focused on nothing but the evil characters trying to lick Vader's boots, and that would have been pretty good. But apparently there's this whole thing where she's getting these... Moses Ingram, I mean, where she's getting these, like, racist messages, and the problem with Obi-Wan Kenobi is not the fact that it's, if I'm being honest, it's a mediocre show. It's not terrible, it's not great, it's just kind of flat. It's shot really well, the special effects are great, but it pulls a bait and switch. It's not only just that it's not about Obi-Wan Kenobi, it does the thing where it takes your hero, it takes a thing that you loved, and then it smacks him in the face. And we see this happen over and over and over again. Like, they brought back Patrick Stewart as Jean-Luc Picard. And what's Jean-Luc Picard? He's a broken bitch of an old man who I don't know. I haven't even watched that show. Like, Star Trek is one of my favorites, and they ruined it.
Yeah, when Governor missed it by that much as the president of the world, you lost me before you even got there.
So, what I think is going on here is that they know the show's mediocre. They know that it can't stand on its own. And I think at least some of the writers or the people involved know that what they probably should have done is just made a show about the Inquisitors, and you could have even featured Obi-Wan Kenobi in there somewhere. But no, they did that. They have to bank on a legacy character. It's such a bait and switch gaslighting bullshit, because what you're doing is you're banking on a legacy character. You're going to pull a guy like me in, you're going to go, guess what? Guess what? More Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then I go, hell yes, more Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let's do it. And then what you give me is not, in fact, more Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then when I go, wait a minute, this is bullshit. You promised me something different. You look me straight in my face and you go, no, the problem's not us, the problem's you. If I go to Longhorn and I order a ribeye, mid-rare, and then you bring me the chicken breast, and then you look me dead-ass in my face and go, no, the problem's not us, the problem's you. This is what you want. No, it's not what I want. I told you what I wanted. I wanted the ribeye. I was willing to pay extra for the ribeye. The chicken breast is cheaper, but I don't want the chicken breast. I want the ribeye.
And I will get up and walk out without paying you, because I told you what I wanted to pay for, and you tried to trade me something that I didn't agree to.
Okay, Dave, Jesus. Woo, that might be top comment right there. Dave Bowen says,
Stacy showed up in the book of Boba Fett. She was the twin on the left.
Oh, I thought she was the Rancor, because...
No, the Rancor's got better teeth. They're smaller and sharp, but they're appropriately spaced.
Well, hey, according to them, they're appropriately spaced. So,
well, it's also important to remember that they did establish in Boba Fett that the Rancors are intelligent and sympathetic.
Yes. Well, actually, it was established long before that, but I'm not gonna. Well, actually, death here.
Not to the viewers of the cinematic material. You're talking about in the books, in the extended universe.
No,
it wasn't really. They didn't really touch on the Rancors in the films.
In the films, no, but in the TV shows, yes.
Okay, yeah, like I said, you're still talking extended universe.
Okay, so just a couple of things. One, I'm not a toxic fan. They would have you believe that I am a toxic fan. They would have you believe that my problem is that this black female character gets. And look, I only watched the show once. Okay, I didn't sit back and do deep analytics on it. I just wanted to have like some actual knowledge of what's going on here. They would have you believe that my problem is that a black female character has a lot of screen time and she's an absolute badass. And no, that's not my problem with this show. My problem with this show is it's not about Kenobi. It's about a guy that calls himself Kenobi, but it's not about Kenobi. And then B, in order to tell your story, you have to break the canon that came before you. And it's not even that interesting of a story. Like, if you're going to break canon, at least give me, like, some mind-breaking shit, okay? But no. And they do this with...
Yeah, like, tell us who Darth Plagueis is.
Right? And we just watch this happen over and over and over again, and it's always in service of either the white male is bad or some other female-colored thing is good.
The Star Wars 1619 project, exactly.
Steve, there you go.
And it's the whole bait-and-switch thing. We got the Ghostbusters remake that was...
that is exactly what I was about to reference.
Hyper-feminist, and it was garbage.
It wasn't funny.
Right.
They just kept talking.
Every joke was, men are stupid, huh? Also, we're nasty lesbians.
Well, not only that, but every joke...
that's a statement. It's not a joke. There's not a punchline. There's no setup. There's no payoff. There's no punchline. You're not funny. But maybe the most staggering, blatant example, which is the one that most people are going to be least familiar with, but it was the one that was just most staggering.
Predator.
He-Man.
Terminator.
He-Man. We got the He-Man
James
series.
Bond?
They actually...
I could keep going.
But they actually called the show He-Man. And episode 1, they kill off the title character to do a full series season of lesbian fanfic about two minor characters that just aren't part of the original. They're
part
from
of the original,
but they were so inconsequential. It was just, oh hey, here's a couple of females. Let's stick them in the sack together and kill your heroes. Another great example.
And if you don't like that, you're the bigot. We're not bad screenwriters. You're just a bigot.
Right. And no, the fact is, I wanted to watch a remake. I loved He-Man when I was a little boy. I now have a little boy. I sat down to watch He-Man with my little boy, and you fed my little boy dykes. And those are for electrical work. Not hijacking
I thought they were for
childhood.
plugging up rivers.
That too. But another one that really was just like in your face, disgusting example of this kind of wokest attack. The first, not the first Thor. What was it? The third Thor movie?
The third one.
The Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in Ragnarok, we get the person of color Valkyrie. Okay. It's a little odd. It's a little obnoxious because it's not in keeping with the mythos, with the mythos that predates the comic book by centuries, and of course also the canon of the comic book itself, which is based on that mythos, where the Valkyrie are very much tall, blonde, sexy white women, because they're the product of the religious mythology of a tall blonde race of Vikings, right? So you give us the blonde Valkyrie or the brown Valkyrie, and it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. She plays an interesting character, but then you have to have the scene in that film where all of the other Valkyrie, who are all the stereotyped blonde, white, tall, sexy swimsuit model women with wings and swords on horses, all of them are killed so that the entire race of Valkyrie can be replaced by the brown one. This isn't a mistake. This is a thing that is being done on purpose. It's part of the larger grooming package.
Yes. So, just to really put a...
Scrimshaw, got to screen the movies before the kids watch them. Absolutely.
Well, look, going back to the original Ghostbusters was funny because of this thing called comedic timing, okay?
And also comedy.
Well, this thing...
Jokes.
This thing called comedic timing, okay? The biggest difference, like if you watch the 2016 Ghostbusters and then you watch the original, they never shut up in the 2016 to the point of where, like, even as an audience member who's willing to suspend his disbelief, it's just like nobody would keep talking this much, especially about soup that didn't have enough wontons in it. Like,
right.
Nope. And the fact that every scene goes on this way, and that's a hallmark of Paul Feig. And sometimes it actually produces funny things, but not in this context. Whereas the original Ghostbusters, like, there was silence. Like, that's a hell of a Twinkie. Nothing else need be said.
Right.
We don't need a long diatribe about Twinkies. In fact, it takes away from the joke.
I think it was the drinker that did the cross platform analysis on that piece, where he points out in the Wokest remake, when they're trying to impress upon you the power of the weaponry, right? There's this long extended scene where they're out in an alleyway and the fat chick gets thrown around by the overpowered particle accelerator.
Yes.
But in the original, the way they got that across to you is the three guys are standing in an elevator and
Egon flips his...
No. Before that, it's Ray, Egon, and the other guy. Damn, I'm sorry, man. But he says, well, each of us is standing here with an unlicensed particle accelerator on our backs, right? And then Egon says something about how he wished he had time to test it. They're in the elevator, and Egon flips on Peter's backpack and then takes a step back.
See, you just remembered Peter.
You're right. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, it is Ray that says we've each got an unlicensed particle accelerator on our back. And then Peter says, flip me on, and Egon flips the switch and then tries to take a step back.
They both...
That entire scene is like 30 seconds long. It's on a locked-off camera on sticks. All three actors are on screen for the entirety of it. And they have that brief piece of dialogue. And it's funny, it's relatable, and it gets more information in that one little exchange than the, like, ridiculous 5-minute special effects diatribe soaked with anti-man jokes from the Wokest one. It's an example of the difference between a talented filmmaker and an overbloated Hollywood budget.
You know, what's funny is you could actually blame Star Wars and the prequels for this.
Yeah.
George Lucas was forced to be talented when he made the originals, because while he did manage to secure a few $1 million in funding per movie, like, part of the reason why they shot so many of these scenes in the desert was that was it. That was their option.
Right.
And they had to make it work.
Yeah, you know what's cool about the desert? It's free.
Because it's a desert.
If you want to take a bunch of cameras out there and shoot a movie,
yes,
nobody cares. They're not going to come up to the castle and arrest you, like Monty Python.
Right. Okay. So, but then when the prequels came around, he could take everything, film it on giant green screens, giant blue screens, and could do whatever he wanted. And I remember saying at the time, this has the potential to backfire. Part of what makes movies special is you have to get creative to show certain things on screen. Now you no longer need to be creative. You can literally show anything you want, just run it through the animation process.
I don't know. In fairness, sometimes you don't have to get all that creative. sometimes you just have to say, you know what? How do we go about it if we want to have a guy with a flaming guitar strapped to a giant speaker box on the back of a truck on screen? And the effects guy says, I don't know, let's grab a guy with a guitar and chain him to the truck.
Yes, I realize you're referencing Fury Road, but that's... Anyhow, apparently, look, okay, I'm not going to sideline on that, all right? So it's funny, you can blame Star Wars for the continued failure of Star Wars and all these other movies, because you just run it through your animation process and boom, Bob's your uncle. Here's the deal, though, and I want to point this out. I think this is absolutely astroturfed controversy. Do I think that Moses Ingram did receive some trollish DMs? Yes. Yes, I do. Like, we've received racist messages. There's the one episode that we had to pull down because the comments section was full of so much garbage. We were worried somebody would report it and get our channel a strike. Okay? Like, you get hatred online. But to somehow say, you're not allowed to criticize this show, you bigot. No, it's astroturf bullshit.
And just so you guys know,
and then that makes me wonder,
love the trolls. I love it when we get the trolls. But there are some things that the risk of having the show taken down, and I don't mean like you won't be able to watch this episode again later, because let's be real, we do time-sensitive content. The show is going to do what it's going to do for today and the next couple of days, and then it's not going to come back around a lot. We're not making this morning show is intentionally not evergreen content. We're chasing trend here, but what we're talking about when a troll is using language in the chat, we're not going to lose that episode. We're talking about losing the channel on YouTube, which, please believe, I'm okay with losing the channel on YouTube, but it's going to be over something I said and stand by.
Well, I was just going to say, if this is an AstroTurf controversy, how many other controversies are AstroTurf? Because we've talked about this before. We're like, yeah, there are white supremacists in America, and like 3 or 4 dozen of them.
Right.
Right? When the torch rally happened, in which the president was deliberately misquoted with the very fine people on both sides, the actual torch rally had like a couple hundred people at it. And so let's just assume that for every one person that showed up, there's 20 that wishes that they could. Okay? So
that's still nobody.
That's still a nation of 300 million people. We're talking about sub 1% numbers here. Maybe your show's just not very good. And maybe you've overplayed this race card, and for that matter, you've overplayed the bigot card. Like we talked about on the original Woke Wednesday, how in your face and insulting it is to have all these corporations that will not give a shit how gay you are July 1st. I assure you,
right.
They won't care. Okay? They're just chasing that woke. All right? There was a time when I would have hesitated to say that. Now I don't care. And in fact, I've been backed so far into the corner, I feel obligated to say something like that. It's sort of like what happened with the vaccine. At first, I didn't avoid the vaccine because of anything. I just was like, no, I'm relatively young and healthy. Let other people get it first. But then once the people that claimed to be smarter than me came around and started beating me over the head and telling me I was a bad person for not getting it, that's when I was like, okay, screw you, then I'm a bad person.
Yep.
And it's the same thing. Like, you take my heroes from childhood, you murder them in front of me, and then you tell me it's my fault. No, screw you. I'm not going to be kowtowed to that anymore. And one day you're going to run out of Superman stories. Both literally and figuratively. One day you're going to break Star Wars, and you're going to break Marvel Comics. You've already broken Doctor Who. You've already broken Star Trek. Okay? Like, you just keep right on going. You will be forced to care. There you go.
Yeah, and our episode last week for Woke Wednesday, Steve, that you will be made to care, you'll be forced to care. Last Wednesday, the inaugural episode of the Woke Wednesday format, the thumbnail said, "You will be made to pretend to care," and that's the social credit score thing. We are walking into a situation here where you've probably seen the meme. How to comply just enough to avoid the gulag. Right?
They pretend to pay
and
us,
I hadn't
and
even
we pretend
intended
to
to
work.
talk about gun control today, but they want to come for your guns. so that they can have concentration camps like in Australia, like in China, like in Germany. Oh, but Chris, they didn't have concentration camps in Germany over the whole COVID thing. So, love you. Keep calm. Carry on. Carry one.
Both.
Always. And we will see you tomorrow.